Hello. How's everyone feeling today? Do you feel a little bit better than before when you came into this room? Yes. Isn't that amazing? There's actually a science behind it. I'm going to talk a tiny bit about that science right away, which is that what we've been experiencing as we've been hearing about all the corporate social responsibility initiatives that you are all amazingly involved in, is that we have gotten a little bit hit, like a vicarious hit of the capacity of generosity to make us feel good, right? So there's all kinds of research that says generosity happens to be good for us. It not only gives us a hit of endorphins, which makes our bodies, minds feel better, but it actually helps us live longer. People who volunteer live longer than people who don't. That's just the case of it. And the reason is because when we practice any of the positive emotions, and generosity is one of them, we help bring our body, mind, spirits back into balance and reduce the effects of the stress response. And so generosity is really, in my mind, half of an experience. It's the giving back from a sense of fullness. And you kind of saw that. Here you are in these organizations, and you all have jobs, and you're all existing in the business world and making it. And from that sense of appreciation of what you have, you naturally want to give back, right? So I think of it as the out-breath, the exhale. What I'm going to talk to you this afternoon really about is the other half of that experience, the inhale. And that is a practice of gratitude. In gratitude, we experience all of that, what we have. We recognize the fullness in our lives. And then from that fullness, we naturally want to give back. And that giving back is the expression of generosity, and in this case, through volunteerism. So thank you for being on this journey with me. And because you all work in businesses, I decided to focus on a specific aspect of gratitude. I'm going to be speaking about all of what gratitude can do for us tomorrow night at the Royal Irish Academy, but I want to focus in on something that's really specific to all of us in this room, which is the business case for thankfulness. I don't know about you, but what I do for a living is I work with corporations around the world, helping people create greater success, personally and within their organizations. I work for companies like Facebook, Time Warner, Microsoft, Royal Dutch Shell. And everybody I know, no matter what organization they're in, we're really having to work harder, aren't we? To make those numbers. Whatever those numbers are, every single one of my clients is saying, I don't know if we're going to make our numbers. I don't know if I'm going to make our numbers. So I wanted to show you something today that will help you make your numbers. That's incredibly easy to do. We have the ability to increase our productivity and profitability, whether you lead a team, are part of a team, or lead an organization, with one simple thing, and that is gratitude. Gratitude is the easiest and cheapest way to increase profitability and productivity, and I am going to show you why that's true and then how to do it in a way that's the most effective. So before I get into the specifics of it, I want you to do an experiment with yourself. All right? I want you to think right now, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel? 1 being the worst you've ever felt in your life. Bleh. 10 being the best I have ever felt. Pick your number. Everyone got a number? Okay. Now, I want you to think about something that you really, really, really appreciate in your life. Now, the trick to doing this is that you actually have to really make it real for yourself. So I'll give you an example. Instead of thinking, well, I appreciate my daughter, I think, this morning, I opened my email, and there's this message from her. She's about to turn 15. Her birthday's on Christmas Day. I get this email, Christmas and birthday list. Here I am over here. And she has carefully cut and pasted all the things she wants that she's found online with the prices. And then at the bottom she goes, total, only $100 for both, birthday and Christmas. So I think about that, and I think about how sweet she is, and how conscious she is of money, and how exact and precise she is. And when I think about that, then I really bring to life my sense of appreciation for her. Okay, so now you do the same thing. Pick one thing that and make it real for yourself. Everyone got something? Okay. Now, what is your number? How many people your number went up even a teensy-weensy bit? How many people, raise your hand if your number went up even a tiny bit? That is the power of appreciation, of gratitude, of thankfulness. What you've actually done in your brain is activate your left prefrontal cortex, and you gave yourself a little hit of feel-good hormones. Okay, so it turns out that when we do that for ourselves, we get all kinds of wonderful benefits. And when we do it for other people who work with us and for us, they work harder. So here's how much it matters. Gratitude at work. 71% of workers in a large survey said that they would rather be appreciated than get more money. So when we're trying to figure out how to motivate employees in lean times, when we don't have a whole lot of euros to go around, here's one way. 44% said that appreciation made them more productive. And in a study of 10 million employees in 114 countries, praise and appreciation was found to create higher engagement. We've been talking a lot about employee engagement, I heard this morning, which resulted in higher productivity and revenue, lower turnover, fewer mistakes and accidents. And what they discovered in that same survey is that it created as much as a 10 to 20% variation in productivity and profitability. The more people who could say, yes, I have been thanked or praised in the past week, they created more productivity and profitability for their organization. Okay, here's why. Why does it work? Essentially, in the brain, what you appreciate appreciates. So, when you don't get appreciated for something, the human brain says, well, there's nothing here, so I'm not going to try again. That. And this process is largely and almost completely unconscious. You're not necessarily noticing that you're being motivated or demotivated. But in fact, you are. And here's why. The human brain is 10% of the body's volume, but it consumes a disproportionate amount of its glucose and its oxygen. So it's basically drains more of the body's energy than any other system, okay? Because it takes work to think. That's why chess masters sweat, even though they're just sitting in a room, not quote unquote moving. Thinking takes work. So the brain has developed all kinds of habits to conserve energy. And one thing that it does is that it habitualizes. That's how come when you start to do something and you do it over and over again, it's really, really hard to change that. That's because the brain loves habit. It doesn't have to use as much energy once it creates a habit. The other thing that it does is that it's always looking, again unconsciously, for, is it worth putting out this effort? Is it worth it? And if it doesn't get a bounce back from the outside world, it says, no, it's not worth it. But if, in fact, it does receive some kind of reinforcing feedback, then it says, all right, I'm going to keep doing this. And that, in a nutshell, is why appreciation increases productivity and profitability. Because when I tell you, wow, when you did that, this is what happened, and really keep on going, then the brain wants to keep on doing it. By the way, this also works for children. If you want to change anything in a person and spouses, by the way. Have you ever noticed what doesn't work, especially with spouses, is to tell them what they're doing wrong? That generally does not increase performance. However, if you catch a person even doing something slightly right, and you say, hey, thank you so much for doing those dishes, even though you left half of them on the table. No, you don't say that part. Then they're more likely to do it again. So it works with employees as well as it works with kids and spouses. It's much, much better than giving negative, quote unquote, negative feedback. That actually decreases performance. And we'll see actually the difference in that in a minute. So why else does thankfulness in business matter? When you get this brain paying attention to what you're saying, what it's experiencing is a release of dopamine when you're told from the outside that you've done something right. Your brain releases dopamine. This is the same chemical that's released when somebody is a compulsive gambler. So it makes your brain feel good. And so literally the people who work with and for you want to get that hit again. Again, this is completely unconscious. We generally don't know that we're working for dopamine, but we actually are. So when I say thank you specifically for something to you, your brain feels like, and it wants to have that good, feel-good thing again. One of the other things that appreciation does, and I was just hinting at this a minute ago, is that it actually fosters strength-based development, which has been shown to create an almost 40% increase in performance. So when you want to make other people perform better, when you focus on what they're doing right, and you help them increase their capacity to do that, their performance increases. However, have you ever been pulled into a performance evaluation, and we almost all do this, what do we focus on? Areas of improvement, right? And when we do that with someone, we actually tend to decrease their performance by 26.8%, research shows. And the reason is this. When you come into a situation in which you know you're going to be evaluated, and I'm telling you there's some things that are wrong with you, it turns on the stress response in your brain. You start to be afraid. The limbic system, which is only as smart as a bunny rabbit, is going, uh-oh, this could be threatening. And then it's looking at everything that it's doing and it's wanting to avoid mistake. We lose the ability to connect to our highest and best thinking, which is prefrontal cortex thinking. When, however, we're praised and we said that you did this right and do this right and do more of this, then the prefrontal cortex goes, okay, I know what I can do. And the sense of threat from our lower brain diminishes, and we actually have the ability to then accelerate our performance. All right, so hopefully in these few minutes I've convinced you that you're all going to run out there and you're going to really start praising people like crazy, right? Because you all want to increase performance. How about this? I was in Bahrain. I was giving a seminar, Royal Dutch Shell, to these leadership team, and the guy who was the head of the oil rigs, he's sitting there and he's kind of got his arm, big Dutch guy, he's got his arms crossed, and he goes, yeah, I know all this. I do this all the time. I said, oh yeah, what do you do? He says, I always go around saying, good job, guys. Good job, guys. Good job, guys. I said, doesn't do a thing. And we had a big argument about it for a very long time. The Dutch love to argue. But it's because why? Does anyone have an idea why saying good job, guys doesn't do anything? It's not specific enough. It does not tell the brain anything about what it's supposed to have done right. So you don't even get the dopamine hit because remember, the brain's searching, it's doing a lot of work trying to figure out what's working and what's not working. And so unless you are specific in what you're saying, it really has no effect at all. So what do you need to do instead? First, say good job, thank you does nothing. So you want to be specific. You name what the person did as factually as possible. Then secondly, you name, this is the most important part, you name the effect that it had as a result of that. When you stayed late and finished up the report and had it on my desk at 8 o'clock in the morning, it enabled me to do my part more efficiently so that we got to turn it in on time. Notice I said what the action was and what the effect was. And those together is what really creates the magic. Because now the person knows, oh, getting things done on time is what it was helpful in this situation. And then here's the last trick. Unfortunately, these things do not last long in the brain. You can't just do it one time and call it done. The research shows is that it has to be at least weekly. That's a lot, weekly. So quarterly employee recognition events, that might be a good thing as well. But unless you're telling people who you work with and for at least once a week what they're doing right, you're not taking advantage of this ability of thankfulness to affect productivity and profitability. So the good news is, how long does it take to actually say those words? When I just said it a minute ago, how long did it take? 10 seconds? Something like that, right. The trick is to notice. It's the noticing part that we have to work on. Because the saying it is really, really easy. But we do have to do it at least weekly, or else we are not giving other people's brains the feedback they need in order to keep motivated to keep on working. Okay, good. I'm here as part of National Thank You Day, which is on Thursday. And it is sponsored by the Irish Hospice Foundation. And it's really an attempt to begin to help create a culture of thankfulness in Ireland. It's built on the principle that being thankful is good for you. And it's good for other people around you. And we've just been focusing on how it's good for the people around you. And I'm speaking tomorrow night at the Royal Irish Academy at 7 p.m. And I'm going to be talking really about what gratitude does for us individually as we practice it. If you want to see more, you can see it on thankyouday.ie, or it's also on Twitter at thankyouday. So I would like to take a moment to thank you for your attentive listening at the end of a very long but wonderful experience of noticing all of the good that you all are doing in this country. So thank you very much.